So, Arthur, what do you think of the Sussexes' recent royal statement?
I think it was a bit. Well, I think it was a little bit insolent. I think it was a little bit. I mean, it was written obviously by a lawyer, American lawyer, by the sounds of the way it's written, who doesn't understand quite how it works here. You know, when the Queen says you can't do something, you can't do it. And that's it. I mean, she's not saying it because she's being spiteful to Harry, who she absolutely adores, but it's because it's the law. It's part of the Companies Act, and you can't do that. And you certainly can't use a royal title for commercial gain. You know, they can't have tea towels and cups with their brand on it. It's just not on. You know, Prince Edward, when he married Sophie, he had a film production company, and Sophie had a PR company. And they both had to pack that up because it was conflicting with their royal duties. And then they joined the royal firm. So there's been, you know, people have tried it, but it doesn't work, and the Queen doesn't want you to do that. Now, some royals, people say, well, you know, the Duke of York's, Prince Andrew's girls, Eugenie and Beatrice, they work in the private sector, but one works in an art gallery, and I think the other one does something similar. And that's just not for commercial gain. That is because they have to earn an income, because they're not part of the sovereign grant. So Harry, I think Harry knows that. And I think the fact that the Queen let them do everything, let them keep Frogmore Cottage, come and go when they want, and left the door open for them to return to the royal family after a year.
All right, this is a prediction that's getting a lot of people talking. Veteran royal photographer Arthur Edwards believes Prince Harry could eventually rejoin the royal family. Now, considering everything that's happened over the last few years, the interviews, the memoir, the public tension, that sounds almost impossible to some people. But Arthur Edwards has followed the royal family for decades. He's watched Harry grow up in front of the cameras, seen the highs and lows, and now he believes reconciliation may still happen someday. So, is there actually a path back for Harry? Or is this just wishful thinking? According to Arthur Edwards, family ties are difficult to completely erase, especially within the royal family. His view is that despite all the public drama, Prince Harry is still fundamentally connected to the institution he was born into. And he believes that over time, emotions cool down. Right now, things may seem tense and distant. But Edwards suggests that history shows royal relationships can evolve, repair, and sometimes even recover after major conflicts. And honestly, that's not entirely unrealistic. Families, even highly public ones, can go through periods of separation before reconnecting later. At the same time, a lot of people hear this prediction and immediately think, no chance.
I think tells you everything you want to know about the relationship the Queen has with Harry. So I say, you know, whoever wrote that statement and put it on their website, it was insolent. Yeah, I think it was it just speaks of lack of respect for the Queen, and I don't agree with it. You know, I think Harry's chosen to quit the royal family. That's fair enough. Everybody should determine what they do in life. But if you're doing that, then you quit. You don't take what you want out of it and leave the rest. You can't, as they say, have your cake and eat it. But I don't think that'll affect them anyway. I think that Meghan and Harry will have a very successful career in America and Canada. I think they'll be in huge demand, whether they're called royal or not. I don't think it will affect them at all.
So despite the Sussexes dropping the word royal from their foundation, is it right that they should go out and make a load of money off their royal backgrounds?
I don't think making money is such a bad thing in life. I think that's a thing we all try to do. We all try to look after our families and making money. And Harry's got to make an income. Obviously, he's no longer getting paid by the sovereign grant, and he has expenses and staff to keep, so he has to earn some money. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And if he gives a talk and he gets a £500,000 for it, that's fine. If Meghan does something and she gets money for it, that's fine. I think that's fair enough. They say they're going to donate a lot of it to their charitable foundation, which I think they will do, and there'll be obviously a lot of people benefit from that. So making money is not the problem. Making money on the back of being a royal member of the royal family, if your billed as His Royal Highness Prince Henry of Wales is going to speak for a group of bankers, then they're making money out of the royal, commercially making money out of the royal family. That's not right. Now, if in fact they do that, then it's against company law. And I don't think there's anything morally wrong with it, but it just doesn't sit well with the family and most of the people in this country.
How do you think the Queen would have reacted to the Sussexes' statement that they put on their website? I mean, the statement was pretty petty, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, a bit stupid. And also, as I say earlier, you know, it was a little bit insulting, you know. I mean, the thing about when Harry's ever spoken about the Queen, he speaks it with absolute love and respect. And I suspect if he'd have thought it through, he would have probably had that completely rewritten. I mean, it was written by a lawyer. There's words in it I don't think Harry knows, I think I know, that were used, and words that in many ways were, I'm trying to think of another word, and it was stupid. It wasn't thought through. I mean, I've worked with Harry for most of his life. He is an absolutely outstanding member of the royal family. He is one of the best people to work for, one of the nicest people to work for. He's always trying to help you. And I've had some wonderful pictures with him over the years, wonderful pictures I'm very proud of. And when I see now this road he's taken, where he's got to more or less start a whole new career, I kind of not feel sorry for him, but I wish him well. But I hope after a year he rethinks and comes back and rejoins the firm, because, you know, he's a boy and never had to worry about parking his car. He's never had to worry about sorting out his tax return or his insurance. All this is going to be new to him. No one's going to do it for him now. He's got to either do it himself or employ someone to do it. And he's going to find life, as most of us do, pretty tough when you've never, after he's 35 years of age and he's never had to do anything like that. And he may wish that he'd never gone down that road, who knows. But of course, it's what his wife wants. And I think what Meghan wants, as they say, Meghan gets. And he's so much in love with her, he'll do anything to keep her happy. And if this is what the price is, he'll pay it, because, you know, there's no secret agenda here. He has made it very clear that he wants to leave the royal family and he wants to do something for themselves. I think that's quite commendable, and it takes a lot of courage to do that, you know. And there's, I mean, when you know, it's a great life for the royal family here. A lot of privilege, but with that comes a lot of expectation of duty. Harry doesn't want to do the duty, so he's leaving. And I think, you know, good luck. I hope it does all right for yourself, Harry. But personally, I wished he was staying.
So you've, as you say, you've known Harry for a long time. Do you think that it's just Meghan that has caused him to go down this kind of path of decline, where he's perhaps making statements which don't exactly respect the Queen?
Well, you know, there's only one common denominator here, isn't there, which is when he got married. I mean, you know, Meghan is, I thought that first year, she was sensational. I went all over the country with her. I went to Ireland, went to Morocco. You know, she was fantastic. She was really excellent. She worked hard. She did everything right with the people. She was engaging. She said the right things. But there was a lot of bad press she got. Harry felt that she was being unfairly treated by the media.
Because let's be honest, the relationship between Harry and parts of the royal family appears deeply damaged. We've had the Oprah interview, the Netflix documentary, Harry's memoir Spare, public criticism of royal life and the media. And once private family issues become global headlines, rebuilding trust becomes incredibly difficult. That's why many critics believe the divide has gone too far, especially between Harry and senior royals like Prince William. Now here's an important question. What does rejoining the royal family actually mean? Because technically Harry is still part of the royal family. He didn't stop being the king's son. So when people talk about a return, they usually mean one of two things. Either a personal reconciliation with family members, or a more formal return to royal duties and public responsibilities. And those are two very different things. A family relationship might eventually heal. But returning as a full-time working royal? That's a much bigger question. Another factor here is public perception. Harry's image has changed dramatically over the years. At one point, he was widely seen as one of the most popular royals. Now, public opinion is much more divided. Some people admire him for speaking openly and stepping away from a system he struggled with.
I don't think so, because there was no paparazzi pictures taken of it. They were never hounded engagements or privately by paparazzi. If they were, none of the pictures appeared in any of the British papers. And of course, there was some stories that were some of them were a bit, what should I say, hurtful. But those stories mainly came from our own family. We were just the messenger, and often the messenger gets blamed for the story. But in fact, the stories were coming from her family. Now, she doesn't seem to get on with any of her own family, and it seems that she's now not getting on very well with members of the royal family. So I would say, yeah, I think if Harry had married someone from this country, one of his former girlfriends, I think he would be doing exactly what was expected of him, royal duties, and doing them with a great spirit and still smiling.
Do you think that the bitter exchange between the royal family and the Sussexes will continue for a long time?
I don't think this is going to get out of control. No, I just think this is a one-off mistake. I don't think this is going to happen again. I mean, as I said earlier in this piece, you know, Harry has tremendous respect for the Queen and his father, and he loves his brother. In spite of all the stories you read that there's a problem between them, you know, those boys, they grew up together. They were so tight. You couldn't get a cigarette paper between them. They were so close. And I watched them together, and I watched them behave together. I watched them play football together. And they are just very, very close. So I don't think this is going to happen. Harry's not going to fall out with his father and his grandmother and his cousins and his nephews and nieces. He's not going to do that. He's going to stick with it. He's going to be, try and please Meghan, try and keep everybody happy if he can. I mean, he's a thoroughly decent guy. You know, he served in two tours of duty here, overseas in Afghanistan. He's done everything he possibly can for wounded soldiers, for poor kids in Africa. I mean, sick kids in this country. I mean, I've seen him with children. He's fantastic. He's just a great ambassador for this country. And unfortunately, we're going to lose him for a little while. I just hope it's not going to be for too long.
What kind of effect do you think that all of these events are having on the Queen? I mean, she's gone through lots of events such as Prince Andrew recently, and also Peter Phillips, her grandson, divorcing, and of course Megxit.
I think she must be, I saw a picture in the paper this morning, she looked very concerned about things. I think she must be thinking a lot. I think obviously the biggest problem she's got is Prince Andrew. I think he is her own son, who is struggling at the moment to cope with all this adverse publicity that's going down. The fact that there seems to be a concerted effort to humiliate him as much as possible and to get him into a court. But he's done nothing wrong, he's committed no crime. Whatever he's done, if he did it or he says he didn't, whatever happens, it's not, no crime's been committed. He's not going to be charged with anything because there's nothing to charge him with. And they just want to get their day in court. And I suspect that the bottom line is that it's all about money. Who wants to get how much for what, you know? And I think he's doing the best thing. He's withdrawn from public life, hopefully for not too long, because I find him a very nice man to work with. And hopefully it'll be resolved. But I think the Queen is obviously very worried about that. In fact, recently up in Sandringham, she went to church on Sunday and Prince Andrew accompanied her, and I thought that was lovely. Of course, Meghan and Harry are another problem, but that's a problem that's going to be resolved itself. I don't think they'll stay there forever. I think they'll be coming back more and more, and I think Harry will miss it. I think he will miss the life with the family. I mean, America's great, Canada's great, but it's not as great as here, and he knows that, and I think he'll be back. So I don't think that problem's going to be long term. Oh, Peter Phillips. Well, Peter Phillips, I've been married for over 20 years to that woman, and so, you know, it's a personal thing. I think the Queen understands 3 of her own children were divorced, and 1 in 4 marriages fail in this country, so they're just another statistic. I mean, he's the eldest grandchild, Peter Phillips. Obviously, they're very fond of him, and they must be fond of the children as well. And they will probably feel bad about it, but it's not as serious as Andrew, and it's certainly not as worrying as Prince Harry. So I think she'll cope. Look, she's had a lot of crisis in her time. She's had a lot of heartache in her time, and she's a very, very strong woman, and I think she'll cope well.
Thank you very much, Arthur Edwards.
You're welcome.
And despite all the drama, there are still people who hope for some kind of reconciliation, especially between Harry and his father, King Charles III. Arthur Edwards seems to fall into that camp. He believes time can change things. So is this prediction realistic? Honestly, maybe partially. A personal reconciliation at some point? That feels possible. Families reconnect all the time, even after major conflicts. But a full return to royal duties? That's harder to imagine right now. Too much has happened publicly and too much trust may have been lost. Still, in royal history, stranger things have happened. At the end of the day, nobody really knows what the future looks like for Harry and the royal family. Arthur Edwards believes there's still a road back. Others think that chapter is permanently closed. But one thing's clear. People are still watching this relationship very closely. What do you think? Could Harry eventually reconnect with the royal family, or is there no going back now? Drop your thoughts in the comments and I'll see you in the next video.